When we're stuck in our reality, we dream so small and we're like, this is it for me. This is the rest I have. There's nothing else possible for me. When we dream small, it's almost like we have our gaze like towards the ground and we're kind of like hunched over and we're playing small. Real change always comes from love. You can't shame yourself into change. You can't guilt yourself into change. You have to love yourself into change.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Vibrant Soul Society, the conversations. Our mission here is to help you discover that you are greater than your thoughts. I'm your host, Baba Sam, the Miracle Man. And today we have a very special guest with us, a vibrant soul. Monica, welcome to the conversations.
Thank you, Baba Sam. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Great. So, people that aren't familiar with Monica, who is Monica?
That's such a good question. So I am a certified life purpose and applied neuroscience trained coach. I am also a full-time traveler. I'm a big foodie. I love to eat. I love to try new things. I also just love to experience life. I'm always looking for new experiences, to meet new people, to connect in new and deeper ways.
So, what got you into coaching?
Hmm. I always kind of joke that coaching found me. I have always been a gypsy soul. Like, I love to travel, I love to explore the world. And when 2020 came around, I was supposed to be working in the Peace Corps, and that is a 2-year stint abroad. And I ended up not being able to go because COVID shut everything down. And I ended up working kind of a dead end job in healthcare, and my gypsy soul was just suffering. And so I ended up looking for ways to make money online, and through that, started an online marketing business. And then eventually, as I was traveling the world and growing this business, a lot of people were like, hey, this is really cool. Can you help me do the same? I started helping friends and family figure out how to work online, to travel, to really enjoy their lives. Through that process, I began to understand the power of mindset and how everything goes back to mindset. I found ways to get coaching certified, to get life purpose training, as well as the applied neuroscience piece of it. I've been coaching ever since.
Right. So, is this really the COVID got you into a different direction?
Yep, it's my COVID baby.
Because so suddenly the Peace Corps ended and you're like, okay, what can I do now? Everything is shut down. What can I do?
I got really tired of waiting for somebody else to tell me that I could live my life again. I just felt so stuck. Online marketing was my path to freedom, and it just opened up this whole new world. I didn't even know that people could make money online. I didn't know that people could travel full time. I didn't know that there was such thing as coaching and mindset. I didn't know any of that. And so it was really my gateway into it.
Right. That you were forced, you had no choice. You were curious to explore what was out there. Before the Peace Corps, you were stuck in a dead end job. I guess that's why you found the Peace Corps, because you'd be traveling, doing something different. It's
Mhm.
the inner explorer that wanted to get out there, right?
Absolutely.
Through your information that I read about you, that you call yourself a neuronerd, you really dove into this and understanding how the brain works and the mindset.
Absolutely. Our brains are, I mean, if you think about it, like in our skull is encased our personality, our hopes, our desires. Everything about us is right there in our brain. I'm so fascinated with understanding how that works and what motivates people, then taking that, breaking it down, and making it super accessible for people to understand how their own brain works so that they can work on continually improving their lives and tapping into that power that they have.
So you're just guiding them through the maze of the mind on how to better live their life. Is that what you would say?
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, because this mind can get really confusing, a buzzsaw of thoughts. So how do you navigate through that is
Mhm.
everyone's challenge. So that's where
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
got your interest into that. So I'm just curious, if you're dealing with somebody like myself, where I was like 38 years of pain, suffering, multiple sclerosis, all these issues, and
Mhm.
somebody that's convinced that I'm stuck with this forever, that there's no way out, where do you begin with somebody like that?
I think the first thing you need to dive into is figuring out what you want your life to look like, taking away all limitations and taking away all pain and anything like that. Let's really let yourself dream big here. Because what happens is when we're stuck in our reality, we dream so small and we're like, this is it for me. This is the rest I have. There's nothing else possible for me. So when we first start to open up those possibilities and allow ourselves to really dream big, that is when I can start to work on what are the mindsets that are actually holding you back from getting there. Now that we have lifted up our eyes and seen a bigger vision and where the possibilities can lead us, we can start working backwards from that. I love that with people because for some of us, it's the first time we've allowed ourselves to really dream in a very long time. And it shifts our energy and it gives us motivation and allows us to want to try to change things.
Right. And I know for me and a lot of people who are going through multiple sclerosis, a lot of people heard my story that I don't have MS anymore, anymore. And they're like, I could never do that. And they walk away.
Mhm.
They are stuck in that reality that they don't believe that they can dream big. How do you get
Yeah.
them to shift that they can actually have a big, limitless life?
And that can be really tricky, especially because from the time we were little, we were taught that there is a right and a wrong answer. We were taught that there's a specific path. We were taught to do it one way and not shake up the boat at all. And so it can be tricky to rewrite those really deep limiting beliefs, but it just starts with a desire. You have to want it. Once you want it, I can work with you on working on expanding that vision. And I can say, okay, like dream bigger and just have that extra person there to tell you, okay, what if more is possible for you? And giving you that hope. Like, and I'm very good at looking at somebody and being like, I see more for you and helping them start to build that vision. Sometimes all it takes is somebody else believing in you first. But it is hard. You really do have to want it.
You have to make that choice that I want to do something different. And
Mhm.
that's a really big challenge for a lot of people because they've been told by thousands of people, millions of articles that they're incurable.
Yeah,
And that's why I tell people just because they say you're incurable, why is that true for you? And
absolutely.
for
Yeah.
me personally, it was just too big of a leap because I was sick, disabled. But what I could jump to was inner peace. I can
Mhm.
get out of the stress, the overwhelm, that we can start from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just those baby steps help so much, just starting to move in the right direction.
So the whole space for them to encourage them to get out of their limited thinking. They're dreaming small as opposed to dreaming big.
And I think when we dream small, it's almost like we have our gaze towards the ground and we're hunched over playing small. But when you see people lift up their gaze and open up their shoulders, they look confident, feel confident, and they attract that into their lives. It's a huge energy shift that changes from, playing small and I don't deserve more. I can't have more is not out there for me to believing things are going to work out for me. I was made for more. There is more out there for me. I can heal. I can make improvements. I can still live a fulfilling life. And it's such a major energy shift for people.
What kind of practices do you give them to start, besides creating that vision and believing themselves? Are there actual physical practices that you get them into so they can actually step into that and start to witness this dream coming alive?
Yeah, there's several, and it really depends on the person because things resonate different with different people. But one of my favorite things to do is journaling because our brains are the most incredible search engine in the entire world. If we are looking for ways that we can't, or we're looking for ways that our life sucks or that the pain is limiting, our brain is going to find them. But if we can take a step back and we can journal through and write the question big on the top, how is my life already fulfilling? How am I being able to be of service? What brings me joy? If we change the questions that we ask our brains, we will find those answers. And so I really like journaling because the practice of taking time to write it down on a piece of paper slows down the whole process and it focuses and it uses so many different senses. It uses our hands and our touch while we're writing. It uses our visual senses while we can see what we're writing, and it uses our brain like as we're thinking about it, and it focuses, it channels everything into that answer. And it's just such a powerful tool to connect with yourself and to find the answers from within yourself. And one of my favorite things is to go back in our history and say, okay, how have I already had success? How have I already shown that I can overcome hard things? Because so often we have the filter of my life sucks. I'm in so much pain. I can't move forward. And that filter is filtering through our memories too. So we're finding all these past experiences of times that pain has limited us. And so we just believe that's the way it's always been, that's the way it's always going to be. But if we can shift that filter, how have I lived a really beautiful, fulfilling life? How have I overcome this pain? How have I had moments of relief and healing? And we can go back through our past, we will find those answers as well. And we can use that evidence to support ourselves moving forward. I have overcome this before. I have healed before. I have done great things before in spite of the pain. And now I know I have that evidence in my back pocket. So going forward, I know that I can do it again.
When I'm thinking of journaling, typically you want to journal, you want to free write, you don't want to contemplate about that. Can you talk about, journaling should be a free writing process as opposed to a structured process?
Yes, absolutely. So my favorite way to journal is just by putting bullet points down. And so I'll write the question that I'm trying to answer big on the top of the page, and then I'll set a timer for myself. Maybe to start out, maybe it's 30 seconds, and then maybe I can increase to a minute, and then maybe I can even get to 5 minutes. My goal is just to keep the pen moving and just to write whatever comes up. And at first, it might be tricky. Like the first things you write down might be really surface, and then you might be like, okay, that's all I got. But as you continue to try to push yourself to keep writing, your brain is going to continuously give you the answers. You can come up with more and more and more. And you'll be amazed at how many things that you already know and all of the answers that you can come up with as you are giving yourself space and the time to allow those answers to come to the surface.
Yeah, that's a really good point because I know when I was initially journaling way in the beginning, somebody said it was just ego dumping. Just write down your stuff on a paper, but don't read it back. It's just ego dumping. So it
Yeah.
was interesting when I wrote my first book, though, I actually went back to those journals and read it back. I'm like, there's so much wisdom in here. If I really paid attention at that time, it may have accelerated, it may have changed things a little bit.
Mm.
So I think it's important that our journals have value and
Oh, yeah.
to look at what's the deeper thing, like where did this come from? I,
Yeah.
I think that's what you're implying, that sometimes when we're reading this back, there's like wisdom that comes through.
hmm Yes, absolutely. It's almost like this window to our soul and to like our deep subconscious brain. And it's such a powerful tool. Like I have written things down, and just like you said, I've gone back later and I'm like, who stole my journal? Who wrote this? This is fantastic. How did I not let this sink in at the time? Or maybe I wrote it down because I needed it today in the future and I didn't know that. And I didn't know like any of those things. And it's such an incredible process.
Yeah, I really like that's a good phrase. Journaling is the window to the soul. Yeah, there's going to be some surface level stuff in there, but there's going to be the deeper essence that we are,
Mhm.
this spirit, this soul that is connected to all that is. So
Yeah.
that's one outlet. As I said, that's why I like talking to various individuals because there's multiple ways to get our life on track. If you look at spirit, soul, we're infinite. So dream big, live those big dreams, and you don't need to figure it out. Just have that dream,
Yeah.
that vision, and just follow what comes next.
And just trust that, whatever your beliefs are, God, the universe, whatever it is, that they want you to reach your highest potential. And so as you dream bigger, they're going to step in, they're going to bring the opportunities, they're going to open the doors. It's going to come for you. And you just have to have the audacity to dream big.
Big because we are unlimited. We truly are. The only thing is that it's always you versus you.
Mm,
You're the only thing
yeah.
in the way. These crazy thoughts that we have that are keeping us small and limited and
Mhm.
unable to enjoy life. So, if you're journaling, how do you get people to stop and to reflect on what they wrote to really make it a part of the process?
Mm. So there's a couple of different things that I really like to do, again, depending on the person and what works for them. Sometimes when you journal, you'll come across these really limiting beliefs that you have. For example, I've been working with a client whose mother was terribly abusive. And now she's in her 50s and she's tackling all of these limiting beliefs that her mom told her from the time she was 13. Now she's trying to figure out ways to overcome those limiting beliefs, but it's so hard. And when you're sitting down and journaling, you might have these really beautiful moments, but then you go back into your everyday life. And so for her, we've been doing is getting really bright colored sticky notes and writing down these aha moments. And for her, it was a lot of working on learning how to love herself. And so we wrote down things like, hey, you're doing awesome today. Or she would put on her mirror, she would say hi to your friend in the mirror today. And so she would look at herself in the mirror, she'd be like, hey, friend, you're doing awesome. And so we would put these bright sticky notes all around. So it was kind of eye catching. And it was something out of the norm, out of her normal environment to help her remember these things that she came up with in her journaling practice and start to integrate them into her everyday life and just kind of it's almost like being able to microdose the things that you learned and then continuing to implement them over and over and over again into your everyday until it really sinks in and until you start to believe the things that you wrote down.
What I was thinking about, because when you have this self-love retreat coming up in February, so I was thinking about
Mhm.
this, well, what about people who can't love themselves? What about if we just start with self-acceptance?
It is so important. Real change always comes from love. You can't shame yourself into change. You can't guilt yourself into change. You have to love yourself into change. And I think that's the reason why most people have a hard time actually making change in their life. And they just feel like they're broken and there's something wrong with them, but there's not. You just have to learn how to just love yourself so much that you want something more for yourself. Accepting yourself for who you are is a really important part of that. Just being able to understand, like, hey, I'm not perfect. I'm just learning. I'm just, here to make mistakes and to try and fail and try and fail and try and fail again. And being able to accept that in yourself is such a powerful step into actually making the change happen in your life.
So I said life is a practice. There's no one right way for life. It's finding your way. And it's what you're
Yes.
saying, there's not one size that fits all. We need to find something that resonates for you and how to navigate your life and move forward so you can make this new reality come to be.
Yes, absolutely. I'm fascinated by children and watching how children learn and how they take in the world because they are so uninhibited and they don't have any of the societal pressures that the rest of us have kind of taken on. And if you watch a child trying to learn, or a child, for example, learning to walk, at first, like the child pulls themselves up and we're super excited and they're doing great. And then they don't just sit there and cry and think, oh, I tried once and I fell and I'm going to stay here forever. They pull themselves up just a few seconds later and they continue and continue and continue. And children fall thousands of times, probably hundreds of thousands of times before they ever learn how to walk. But they never let that hold them back. And that is how we learn. Every time that they fall, they learn how to adjust, they learn how to try something different. Every time they get hurt, they learn, like, let's not do that anymore. And that is how our brains are made to learn. And then somewhere along the way, we as adults don't believe that we can fail at things anymore or that we should try things that we might fail at because we're scared and we're nervous about what people are going to think about us or how we're going to judge ourselves. But we need to remember that our brains learn through trial and error. And that's what this life is. It's just to learn and to experiment and to discover yourself and what works for you to be able to contribute back to society or build beautiful lives together and become the best versions of ourselves. But we have to give ourselves permission to not be perfect.
We're perfectly imperfect. That there's
Mhm.
no absolute perfection. It's just matter of just, are you living your life the way you wish to live it? And that's
Mhm.
really important. Yeah, I love watching children too. They're just the innocence of a child. They don't have all this baggage, all these stories, all this self-judgment and
Yeah.
criticism. They just are enjoying life. And I want to walk, so I keep practicing on how to walk and just celebrating, enjoying life. And this reminds me when I was reading on your page that your favorite emoji is the party hat icon.
Yes. I just believe that life needs to be celebrated more. And we get so bogged down with the little day to day things in life. I just think we need to find ways to be happier and to celebrate more. I love that you saw that. That's fun.
Yeah, and that's really the key is you have a choice in each month. Do I choose to be happy or going in that direction, or do I choose to be miserable and defeated?
Yeah. And I would much rather be happy.
Right. And life is easier if you're happier. Things flow when you're happier, when you're enjoying life. So everyone should have the party emoji because life is a party, life is a celebration. It's not perfect. We're just doing the best we
Yeah.
can, and that's enough.
Absolutely. And that doesn't mean that we're not going to have bad days or sad things happen to us. But if we can really find ways to be happy in the little moments and to celebrate the little moments, things just work out so much better when you have a positive outlook on life.
Be like a child, celebrate all the little things like we do when we see our kids and they're walking, they're doing something for the first time. We're all happy celebrating. Why don't we
Mhm.
embrace that? Like with the holidays coming up when we're doing this interview, like why not treat every day like Christmas or Hanukkah, or whatever you celebrate, your birthday, whatever it is, and embrace that emotion of that
Yeah.
moment every single day. And your life will be incredibly different.
Yeah, could you imagine the change that you could make just by making that one simple thing? Even if it's just for a moment in the day, like, I'm gonna treat this moment like it's a major holiday. And if we can just even just implement that just slowly, slowly, slowly into our lives, major, major changes will come.
That's once again, it's the power of the mind to do
Mhm.
that, and I guess that's the dopamine or whatever we're giving ourselves,
Mhm.
the chemicals to express that, and life just flows easier.
Mhm.
I really like this where we're going here with the dreaming small because we're feeling sad, we're feeling down, we're not the party emoji. We should all have an image of the party emoji. We should use it in all of our posts, or did you smile today?
Yeah.
And just enjoy life.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the coolest things that I know about our brain is that we have this system called the reticular activation system, which basically is just your filter between your conscious and your subconscious. So we are receiving so much stimulus all the time that our brains will filter it for you automatically. But when you train that filter to filter in the things that you want and you don't want. So the best example, because I think we've all been there, is when you buy something new. Maybe it's a new car and you're like, wow, car is so unique. It's special just to me. I'm the only one who has it. And then all of a sudden you're driving around and you see that everybody else also has that car. You see it all the time and you never noticed it before because it was being filtered through. And now you have told your brain that that's important. So as you go about your day looking for little party emoji moments, looking for times to celebrate, looking for happy things, things you can be grateful for, you are training your brain that those are the important moments to pay attention to. And now you're going to see them everywhere. And it's going to be coming to your subconscious. And instead of seeing the things that are stressful to you, you're going to be seeing the good things in your life because you have trained your brain to see those things. And you can literally change your reality by training your RAS, your reticular activation system. By training that system, you will literally change your reality and life will seem happier. It'll seem lighter. It'll seem more fun. It'll seem like one big party emoji for you.
Because that's a really good thing because usually in this society, we're always looking at lack, scarcity, what we
Mm.
don't have, and that just becomes a training. So you see more things that are not lined up because you're
Yeah.
dreaming small. Once again, it's really about enjoying life. And it's really interesting. We say, well, I want to start seeing white cars. And your mind
Mhm.
will automatically go to look at all these white cars, or red or
Mhm.
whatever obscure color. They're always there, but like I said, we do have this bias, we do have this filter that we're not
Mhm.
even aware of.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. And it's so powerful once you really understand it and can start to change it because you have control over what's being filtered and what's not. And so being able to change it is a really, really powerful tool.
And real simple to change as well.
Yeah.
It's because it learned lack so easily, can learn joy just as easily. So let's go back a little different direction here. You're like being a full-time traveler. So let's dive into this about because it's all about enjoying life, and
Mhm.
life is about experiences, and traveling allows you to have that. So where do
Yeah.
you like to go? What brings you joy in your travels?
I love to go to different places, like really new cultures. I love to experience different cultures and different foods and different ways of life because it really stretches my own paradigms and helps me realize, like, hey, like there's different ways of doing things, there's different ways of thinking about things. And so I travel with my husband. We go to a place normally 1 to 3 months, and we really like to try to integrate into the community to understand it and to really dive into their way of life. It also gives us more time to work online, makes that a little bit easier and smoother as well. And it is such a cool experience to live and watch yourself thrive in such a different environment than you've been in before. So I absolutely love it.
What about when you don't know the language?
Yeah, it can be a little bit tricky. So, but luckily there's a lot of good technology, lots of good translators and things like that. And I feel very blessed to have grown up with English as my first language, and I learned Spanish as my second language. A lot of people speak those two languages, so it really does help in a lot of ways. And then I play a lot of charades. I'm not afraid of looking like a fool. I'm not afraid of making mistakes when it comes to connecting with people. Yeah, so technology has helped a lot. Playing charades, I've become a really good actor, can act things out really well. And then I always make sure that every place that I'm in, I'm learning at least some basic phrases.
So you're a living example of that, that your mind would be like, there's no way I can do this when you're stuck in COVID. So when now
Mhm.
you look at your life from COVID to now,
Mhm.
what's the overall impression of what has happened over the last 3, 4 years?
I mean, so much has happened. But when I look back over those last 4 years, the biggest change that I have seen is just I've relaxed a lot more. I feel like I can just take a deep breath and be like, "Hey, everything's gonna work out." A really good example is going back to traveling. When we first started traveling, very end of 2020, we had everything planned out to a T. We had the place that we were gonna be, how long we were gonna be. We booked our entry and exit flights. We had everything super planned out. It was a good way to ease into it. But now we live in a much more relaxed way. Our last big trip that we took internationally was in Peru. When we were going to Peru, it was like a couple days before we got there. We're like, I guess we should find out where we're going to live. Like, I guess we should book a place." But we were able to change our trip based on what we needed and what we were feeling and to adapt to what we needed in that moment to thrive as we were traveling. And then my husband ended up tearing his meniscus while we were in Lima, and we had plans to go to other places, but we were able to be more flexible and just trust that, hey, you know what? Everything's going to work out. We'll just stay in Lima a little bit longer. We'll get you the help you need. We'll get you the surgery you need. And before, that would have thrown me for a tailspin. Like, I would have been totally lost, freaking out that we're in this other country and we need to have surgery and we don't know the medical system and I don't know how everything's going to work out. But now I just have this deep trust that everything is going to work out. Everything is going to be fine. And it'll be fine whether I worry about it or not. So what's the point of worrying about it? And so I'm able to let go of a lot of that worry and a lot of that anxiety that I had before.
Yeah, it's also very important that if you do worry and you are anxious, things will not work out as well as expected because the universe is delivering that. Whatever you're putting out there, the universe will
Mhm.
match that. So being relaxed is the best way through life, that everything is working out and just trusting yourself. I think that is
Yeah.
the key, to trust yourself. And unfortunately, a
Yeah.
lot of people don't trust themselves. They've been taught that you don't know what's best for you.
Yeah, and it's so sad. We have been taught to outsource that power and that trust to other people who don't always have our best interests in mind. And so learning to take that back has been life-changing for me.
Yeah, it'll be a life changer for a lot of people too, to really step into who you are and trust yourself and begin to
Mhm.
journal, begin to understand how your brain is working and what's your
Mhm.
predominant surface thoughts and
Yeah.
why why are those thoughts true, is also to ask yourself when you're doing that
Mhm.
initial journaling, is like, why am I taking this as my truth?
Mhm. Yeah, what evidence do I have? And why does this need to be true or why isn't this true? Yeah, it's really, really powerful.
Yeah, because I was always caught under the incurable label. And it's like,
Mhm.
to these thousands or millions of people out there, it is incurable because that's their belief system. But
Yeah.
why is it my truth?
I'm so grateful for you for creating this space and sharing your story and helping people challenge their own limiting beliefs because
Yeah.
that is powerful.
Well, it's because I was dreaming small, like you were talking about in the beginning. I was dreaming small. I
Mhm.
didn't know there was another bigger tent out there that I could go create and live in.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard, and you might have heard this analogy too, of a garden where essentially when you're really little, you have this beautiful, fertile plot of land, but you don't know how to garden because you're little. And so people start to plant for you and they start to cultivate things that they think are important and they think you're going to need. And these are the beliefs that we have. And so now that we are older and wiser and we know how to garden, it is now our time to step into our garden and start questioning, do I really want this many carrots in my garden? Is this serving me? Is this actually a weed for me? Is this what I want? Do I want to put more time and attention into this thought, into this belief? Or do I want to uproot it and get rid of it? And it's so important to constantly be going in and cultivating our beliefs and questioning, is this serving me? Is this getting me to where I want to be? Maybe it did in the past. Maybe it sheltered me and protected me in some way, in the way I needed to, but maybe I don't need it now. And now we can weed through and we can constantly be evolving and improving and expanding our beliefs and really dreaming bigger, moving into that circus tent, and really letting ourselves dream big and just let things happen, and let our lives expand and let our influence expand.
And put a big party emoji on your computer so you don't get tied down to all the news and all the negativity out there.
Yes, exactly.
Flip that switch to the RAS to like, nope, we're looking for the good things in life. I don't want to
Mhm.
focus on that drama. I don't have any control over that. I wish them well, but that's not my reality.
Yeah. It's so important. Like, there's so many people all the time out here who want to plant their own beliefs in your garden. They want you to believe a certain way because then they can kind of control the population. They can control you, your decisions. And so being very aware, and I love that example of putting the party emoji out on your computer where you might be seeing the news because it's an external reminder that you are in charge of your garden and that you are planting joy and you're planting celebration and you're not letting anybody else plant their weeds in your garden.
Right? For anyone that's listening and you need a gardener, call Monica and she'll get you straightened out.
Absolutely. I'll be right there in the dirt with you.
Can you tell us more about the self-love retreat that you have coming up in February?
Mhm. Yes. Okay. So this is my passion project. I'm actually putting it on with a past client of mine, which is super, super fun for me. So I love travel. I really feel like I found myself through travel and it really kickstarted this whole journey for me. And so I have always wanted to help people have those same experiences. And then tying that back to the coaching that I do, everything comes down to learning how to love yourself. Like, if you can take a step back out of reality and spend some time getting to know yourself and realizing how cool you really are and how much power you really have, that is such a strong foundation to make magic happen in your lives. And so on this retreat, I'm combining the two things. We are taking you to Cartagena, Colombia, and we are going to be in this beautiful retreat center and playing in the Caribbean. We're gonna go boating, we're gonna go snorkeling, we're gonna go kayaking, paddleboarding, we're gonna have bonfires on the beach, and then we're also gonna have this really beautiful mindset piece where we're gonna be doing restorative yoga. We're gonna do massages by the beach. We're going to be having workshops, and we're gonna be really connecting with other people who are wanting to make their lives better, who are looking for this deep connection. And I am so excited to invite all of your listeners, yourself included, Baba Sam, if you want to come, and just to come with me and have this really beautiful transformative journey. It's happening February 2nd to the 6th, so it's just in time to really learn to love yourself right before Valentine's Day. We felt like it was really good timing for that, and we are so excited.
All right, Monica, we're wrapping up here. So if people have questions and they need a new gardener, how would they reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm pretty easy to find. You can just find me Coaching by Monica. I'm on Instagram. That's my website, Coaching by Monica. I'm on LinkedIn, Monica Mangelson. I also have a podcast, Notes from a Neuro Nerd. If you want to listen to me geek out about exactly what we talked about today, about how you can harness the power of your brain to make major changes in your life, you can find me on any major podcast platform.
All right. Thank you, Monica. I really enjoyed having you on the conversations.
Thank you so much. This was really, really lovely.